The train that never stops. Horror box. The train appeared on the tracks without warning, fog curling around its steel frame like smoke. Jordan climbed aboard, footsteps echoing oddly despite empty cars. Inside, seats were warped, some leaning impossibly, shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls and floor as if alive. A figure emerged from the darkness. Mask smooth, pale, limbs bending unnaturally, head tilted at impossible angles, gliding silently down the aisle. Whispers filled the car. Observe, follow, remain. Join, vibrating through the metal floor and seats, layering unnaturally over the distant rumble of tracks. He tried to exit. Doors led only to other cars, looping infinitely. Shadows stretched and twisted, blocking every path. More figures emerged. Masks varied. Stitched, porcelain, wooden. Limbs bent unnaturally, heads tilting impossibly, shadows coiling like living ropes around seats and walls. Reflections appeared in windows. Duplicates moved independently, some gesturing slightly delayed, others bending limbs impossibly, all synchronized with the original figures. Jordan's flashlight flickered. One figure glided closer, head tilted unnaturally, shadow merging with the walls, limbs moving like puppets. Objects floated briefly. A newspaper, a bag, a hat, all mimicking impossible gestures, bending shadows along with them. Whispers layered over his heartbeat. Mirror, join, observe, repeat, vibrating through train, fog, and seats. The train car shifted subtly. Seats warped, walls folding, reflections multiplied figures endlessly, shadows twisting in impossible ways. Figures moved closer, synchronized, limbs bending unnaturally, masks expressionless, shadows coiling, stretching across the aisle. A single mask detached, floating silently, hovering slightly above the floor, head tilting impossibly, shadow merging with the car's light. He tried to scream. Only whispers emerged, echoing commands he couldn't comprehend. Doors twisted infinitely. Each car looped back to the same place. Reflections of himself moved slightly delayed, gestures mimicked by duplicates endlessly. The train lights flickered. Figures paused, tilting heads, shadows merging, then vanished, leaving him alone in distorted fog and faint echoing whispers. The tracks seemed infinite. Shadows bent incorrectly, masks floating silently, figures waiting to appear again when the train moved at night. Lanterns flared briefly. Figures reappeared, masks tilting, shadows coiling, then dissolved into fog and darkness. Whispers intensified. Follow, mirror, observe, join. Vibrating train, seats, and metal simultaneously. Objects floated again. Newspaper, hat, bag, all performing impossible motions, shadows stretching and twisting unnaturally. Jordan backed into a corner. Reflections multiplied, endlessly, masks hovering, shadows merging into one impossible shape. The train car warped subtly. Seats twisted, floors rippled, shadows merged, duplicating figures endlessly. A single figure glided silently, limbs bending beyond human possibility, head tilted, shadow merging with the light. Whispers layered over heartbeat. Join, mirror, follow. Stay, vibrating through the train, fog, and every reflection. Dawn broke. Train appeared empty, seats straight, fog dissipated. Yet masks lingered, shadows bent incorrectly, and the figures would return for the next passenger. Even now, locals whisper of the train that appears at night, masks floating, shadows bending, and fog that watches silently, waiting for anyone who boards after dark. The forest of echoing faces. Horror box. The forest seemed alive, mist curling around the trees like silent fingers. Ethan stepped cautiously, flashlight in hand, every snap of a twig echoing unnaturally. Shapes moved in the fog, Faces appeared on tree trunks, masks embedded in bark, tilting impossibly, eyes hollow, yet tracking his every step. A figure emerged, pale mask, limbs bending unnaturally, its head tilted at an impossible angle, shadow stretching along the forest floor like liquid. The whispering started, layered voices repeating, "Observe, follow, join," vibrating through the trees, fog, and his chest, almost indistinguishable from the wind. Ethan tried to turn back, paths folded infinitely. Trees warped, creating corridors that looped impossibly, shadows stretching and twisting to block his retreat. The masked figure glided forward, movements jerky, limbs bending at impossible angles. Reflections appeared in puddles, showing duplicates that moved independently. Branches scraped the fogged ground, tilting like arms, reaching for him without touching. Shadows multiplied, coiling around trunks, floor, and mist, bending reality subtly. More figures emerged from the fog, masks varying, smooth porcelain, stitched cloth, wooden carvings. They moved in synchrony, limbs elongating, heads tilting impossibly. A faint metallic smell filled the air. Ethan's heartbeat echoed in time with whispers. Mirror, repeat, join, observe, vibrating through the mist and his bones. Trees warped subtly, paths repeated endlessly. Figures multiplied in reflections and shadows, each moving slightly delayed, performing jerky, impossible motions that made no sense. Branches bent, forming doorways that hadn't existed before. He stepped through. Masks floated midair, tilting in unison, shadows stretching along the ground impossibly. He stumbled over roots. Lanterns appeared, flickering. Shadows merged with masked figures, coiling, twisting, forming shapes impossible for human bodies. The whispers layered with music like hums. Commands echoed, follow, observe, join, repeat, vibrating the fog, shadows, and trees with unnatural precision. Ethan glanced at a puddle. Reflections showed dozens of duplicates, some bending impossibly, some gesturing subtly different, all synchronized with the forest's rhythm. Figures moved closer, limbs bent at unnatural angles, heads tilting, masks glinting in the mist. Shadows wrapped around trunks, coiling like living ropes. Branches scraped across his arms. Objects floated briefly. Fallen masks, sticks, stones, each mimicking impossible motions of the figures perfectly. He stumbled into a clearing. Reflections multiplied endlessly. Masks hovered midair, tilting, bending, shadows merging into one possible shape. The fog thickened. Whispers became louder, overlaying heartbeat. Join, mirror, observe. Stay, vibrating through ground, air, and mist simultaneously. Figures glided closer, synchronized perfectly. Limbs bending unnaturally, masks expressionless, eyes hollow. Shadows twisted impossibly across floor, trees, and mist. A single mask detached, floating silently, hovering slightly, limbs bending beyond human possibility, head tilting unnaturally, shadow merging with fog. Ethan tried to call for help. Sound refused to leave his throat. Only whispers layered over heartbeat, forming indistinguishable commands. The clearing seemed infinite. Trees looped, shadows merged, masks multiplied, bending reality subtly, forming impossible corridors through the fog. A lantern flared. Masks paused, tilting toward him, shadows coiling, twisting, then vanished, leaving fog and whispering wind. Dawn revealed normal trees, flat ground. Fog receded. Shadows lingered bent incorrectly, masks waiting for the next traveler, daring to enter the forest after dark. Even now, locals whisper of the forest of echoing faces, where masks move independently, shadows bend impossibly, and the mist waits silently to watch you.